Hi, I have an announcement to make. This job market is broken. I've been job hunting for 3 years now, and I've yet to get an offer. 12 years of experience, increasing responsibilities and promotions in each of my previous jobs, modern skill set, keeping up with technology and AI and all this crap, and somehow, absolutely no one will hire me. 3 years of browsing jobs, applying, interviewing, reaching out to people and networking on LinkedIn, and it's been nothing but a nightmare and an endless struggle. What's even worse, I know very well it's not just me. There's thousands, if not millions of people just like me who are smart, qualified, experienced, and are absolutely hustling. And yet, they just can't catch a break because this job market. To be fair, I'm one of the lucky ones in this market because I still have a job. I'm underpaid, unhappy, and my company is going through constant layoffs. So I have this constant stress and worry that I'm this close to losing my job any day now. But still, it could be worse. So, what is it that's so frustrating about this job market? Let me tell you about my job hunt. It all started a long time ago when I wasn't actively looking, but I was growing increasingly unhappy with my current job. No growth, no salary increases, disengaged boss, all that good stuff. A recruiter hits me up on LinkedIn and says, "Hey, I have an open role at this huge tech company. It's a contract role, it pays really well, and your background would be a great fit here. Oh, and this role is fully remote." I'm like, hell yeah. I've always wanted to work at a huge tech company, and this role does indeed sound like a great fit. We go back and forth a few phone calls to confirm my background, skills, availability, and then set up an interview with the hiring team. I sit down and talk with 2 great guys from the huge tech company. We really hit it off. They like my background. I like what their team is doing, and everything seems great. At the end of the interview, I'm asking them some questions and casually mention the remote nature of this role. The hiring manager freezes and then tells me this is definitely not a remote role and it requires daily on-site work in the Bay Area. I'm in Southern California and things get awkward. I say I was told this is a remote role, and even though I'm open to relocating for full-time positions, I'm not sure I can move my family across the state for a temporary position that only lasts something like 6 or 12 months. Things end a little awkward. I pound down 3 beers to soothe my disappointment, and a few days later they actually reach out to ask if I'd consider relocating for this role. I have to decline. Game over. And that recruiter never even apologized for his mistake. Well, shit. Things didn't work out, but this was an eye-opener. There's opportunities out there, and there are companies looking for my skill set and experience, or so I thought. After that, I've applied to hundreds of roles. I wasn't counting at first, but if you're looking for a job in this market, you'll realize there comes a point where you lose track of the jobs you've already applied for. So you need to start tracking them in a spreadsheet or some shit like that. I'm at 169 applications now in just the last 4 months or so, and I probably sent another 200 or 300 before I started tracking. I've interviewed with 12 companies, multiple rounds with each of them, and received exactly 0 offers. Getting rejected is one thing, but the way these interviews go down has been interesting to say the least. Not only does it seem like every goddamn job now requires at least 5 rounds of interviews, a personality test, and a urine sample from your neighbor's dog, there's just a lot of bullshit that I never expected to see. I've had recruiters schedule an interview only to cancel it a day later after realizing I'm in the wrong time zone. I've had more interviews rescheduled last minute than I've had interviews that start on time. I've had a hiring manager no-show an interview while I'm alone on a Zoom call, wondering if I got the wrong link. I've done 7 rounds of interviews only to get rejected at the very end. With one company, I did 2 rounds of interviews and got a message later that I'm a great candidate, and I had no weaknesses. But the hiring manager decided to choose someone from their network. So why exactly are you interviewing me if you've already decided to hire your buddy? I guess we'll never know. Or this one company, I won't name them because I don't want to make Elon mad, but I landed an interview for an interesting role there. What was cool about this job is that the location could be at any of their sales, service, or delivery locations in the US, and there happens to be a ton of them, including a few really close to my house. I go through a recruiter screening, and she confirms location can be at any of their facilities. She also confirms the pay, which wasn't as much as you'd get from other companies of this size, but considering the location flexibility, it was all right. I advance in the interview rounds and make it to a panel interview with 3 of their team members. The vibe is good, and they're questioning me hard for 45 minutes, and at the end when it's my turn to ask questions, I ask them how the team collaborates with staff spread across the country at different locations. awkward pause. And then one of them tells me this position has to work at their Bay Area office. No exceptions. Talk about a bait and switch. Mind you, the salary they were offering was fine for some parts of the country, but definitely not for the Bay Area. And sure enough, after that interview, they went silent for about 3 weeks and then rejected me with an automated email coming from a generic address, Nice. After failing every interview, I always start to think that I must be terrible at interviewing or I'm just a bad candidate. But then I take a look what others are sharing online and I quickly realize it's not just me. There's a ton of people having infuriating, frustrating interview experiences and they're struggling to find a job. Long, stretched out interview processes, withdrawn offers, or changing the salary last minute. Lovely stuff across the board. My most painful interview experience happened with another tech giant. Incredible role with massive pay and a job description straight out of my dreams. I thought I'd never hear back, but to my surprise, I get a response and they want to interview me. This is the kind of interview invitation that causes an adrenaline rush and pure disbelief I could actually land a job of my dreams, and I've already beat hundreds of candidates whose resumes were rejected. I talked with the recruiter over the phone, and she said the hiring manager loves my background and really wants to meet me. Usually these calls are pretty dry, so their enthusiasm was a big glimmer of hope for me. The interview was scheduled for the following week, and because this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I put in an insane amount of practice and preparation. I have to nail this one. The morning of my interview, I get a call. There's been an internal change, and they've changed hiring managers and need to reschedule. All right, cool, no worries. We reschedule for the next day. Interview time comes, and the hiring manager is this dude looking very uninterested and wearing a Texas football hat. Can't tell you why, but that hat really bothered me. He instantly asked me if I have experience using AI to create localized dubbing for movies and TV shows. I'm a little surprised because nowhere in the job description did they mention anything about this, and I also don't have anything even close to that on my resume. I tell him I localize content, I use AI to create subtitles and motion graphics, and I'm really good at adapting and learning new tools and workflows. That being said, AI dubbing is something I haven't done before at my current job. He says this is a hard requirement for the role and ends the interview right there, about 3 minutes in. I couldn't believe it. All that preparation for literally nothing. I do my usual 3 beers while trying to process what just happened, and months later now talking about this, I'm still pissed. But there's always a new day and new opportunities, right? Another company I'm really eager to work for called me for an interview. I completed a few rounds of interviews, had all the experience they were looking for. Everything seemed nice, but I didn't get the job. No biggie, it happens. The only part that rubbed me the wrong way was that they completely ghosted me after going through multiple interviews. No rejection, no updates, absolutely nothing. I followed up with both the recruiter and the hiring manager, and both promptly ghosted me. Never heard back. The funny part is that about once a year, this company is looking for a temporary contractor for basically the same exact position with the same responsibilities I interviewed for, and because I have a profile on a few different job sites, I get 25 different recruiters from third-party staffing agencies blowing up my phone for 2 weeks straight trying to hire me for this position. Why? Because I match every requirement this company is looking for. This company has a revenue of around $40 billion per year, $10 billion of which is profit. But hey, that doesn't mean they can hire someone like me full-time with full benefits. From what I can tell, I'd be great for a temporary role with no benefits, but clearly don't deserve a 401k or health insurance. So that's the job market. And if you think I'm only going after big fancy tech companies, that couldn't be further from the truth. I've applied to all kinds of companies all over the US, big and small, and for most of them I can't even get a response, not to mention an interview. I've seen a company that develops AI tools add a disclaimer in their job post saying anyone using AI in their application will be automatically rejected. I've seen a company say a role starts remote but will later need to work on site at their headquarters, except they don't know yet where their headquarters will be. I've also seen a concerning number of roles where I submit an application and later get an email saying this role has been canceled. I know things change, but it's weird how many times I've seen a role get posted and then later removed without them actually hiring anyone. So, yeah, I'm more experienced than ever. I'm doing everything these career experts tell you to do: networking, designing my own website, optimizing my LinkedIn, and everything else under the sun. And somehow it was easier to land a job as a fresh graduate with zero experience and zero work samples than it is right now with a decade of experience and a pretty solid portfolio. I'm done. I'm just going to make YouTube videos now, and I invite you to join the journey. Subscribe, or maybe click that like button to cheer me up, and I promise to make another video to share my unfiltered thoughts on something. Not sure what it'll be, but I promise you, it'll be real. Thanks for listening, and good luck to all of us out there. And also, this job market.